I did indeed pay rent, and this is Day 9 Daily number 428, where we learn to be a better gamer. Aw, yeah! In today's daily, we're going to explore one of my favorite things of all time. We are going to be exploring MarineKingPrime's incredibly... I'm starting over. I'm trying again. 10, 9, 8. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday, March 6, 2012, and this is Day 9 Daily number 428, where we learn to be a better gamer. Excellent. It came out so good that time. Today's topic is going to be MarineKingPrime's very aggressive barracks only Terran vs. Zerg style. It's very weird. It's really weird. We go 2 racks, and then we expand, and then we go 4 racks, and then we go 6 racks, and we just kind of keep attacking, and eventually we get things like factory and other tech structures. Very cool, aggressive, fun way to play. The structure of the daily is going to be a little unusual, though. We're going to talk a little bit about the evolution of play in the start, and we're going to look at one of MarineKingPrime's games in general to sort of warm us up. And then in part 2 and 3, we're going to look in depth at his ultra marine heavy style. Fantastissimo. So good. So, I just want to do the usual bit of announcementing. Today, tomorrow, and Thursday are the last dailies for quite some time. Next Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I will not be in my room. I will be flying about the country doing the finalizations for the Red Bull LAN that will be coming up on the 16th, 17th, and 18th of March. That will all be streamed, so there will be about 18 hours of content happening over the course of that weekend, so you can tune in there. However, some of you are thinking, what about Fun Day Monday? That's actually happening live at the Red Bull LAN. If you ever wanted to see a 4v4 mono battle with some of the best players ever, you can tune into Total Biscuit's thing this Saturday on March 10th, or you could, of course, tune in to the Red Bull LAN and see it there. So that's what's going down with that. Also, this is not a Newbie Tuesday. This is just a regular old Tuesday. But, of course, if you're a newbie, don't worry, because you are more than welcome to be here. Excellent. And last but not least, I like this sweater. I think it's a cool sweater, and I like wearing a bright color underneath it. Yeah. Now let me sit forward and begin a history lesson on all things StarCraft. Once upon a time, people thought Protoss were the most overpowered BS race ever. The most overpowered race, period. If you looked at the MLG 2010 rally results, in the top 3 were Protoss. It was Huck, Kiwikaki, Sake. And I think in the top 8 there was only one Zerg, and it was Slush. And as time progressed, people were sort of, oh, this is totally crap, I can't believe it. And then people started to figure the game out a little more, and then Terran, people thought was the strongest race, and everyone's like, oh, that's crap. People need to nerf Terran, blah, blah, blah. And then without that many changes occurring, people figured Zerg out, and Zerg became the strongest race in people's eyes. Now, the one thing that I want to emphasize is this is not truth. I'm not talking about whether Protoss was the best, or Terran was the best, or Zerg was the best. It was people's perceptions and the way that they started to think about these particular races. And the way this ends up occurring is that there are a set of strategies that people have seen before. Let's take a strategy that we see a lot of Terran players do against Zerg. They get a factory quickly to get 2 Hellions out with a reactor, and then they expand behind it. Most normal thing ever. That's probably the most standard Terran opening, if I had to pick one. And then they follow it up with Marines and tanks and general pushing. This is so normal. So we have a series of strategies that are quite typical, and what people tend to do is only compare those strategies to each other. Let me take that period where I said Protoss was the strongest race ever. Did you know Zergs did not take 3 bases against an early expanding Protoss? They didn't. They stuck on 2 bases. And way later, they'd get a 3rd base. You can't get a 3rd base as Zerg, they said. It's just too hard to hold. Protoss can do something, whatever, kill that. you have to go only 2 base. So what would Protosses do? Just build Colossi and then walk forward and end up winning the game. But of course, slowly over time, Zerg figured out, hey, if Protoss early expands, I can just expand 3 times in a row, and there you go. I suddenly am out-economy-ing the Protoss, and now I have a stable way to play out the game. And then Protoss has struggled for a really long time, because Protosses literally didn't take a 3rd base, like ever. They would just 2-base Colossus push and go, that doesn't work. Now, what I want to note, for your purposes, is that magical thing that happens between when everyone is losing as Zerg to Protoss, everyone's losing as Zerg to Protoss because they always 2-base. And then that period where suddenly Zergs are 3-basing and they're starting to win. What the public will perceive there is, once again, that a lot of people are 2-basing and losing, and now a lot of people are 3-basing and winning. Those are existing strategies. But they weren't existing strategies at one point. At one point in time, there was a Zerg player out there who thought to himself, hey, you know what? Everyone goes 2-base. Let me try to take a 3rd base. In other words, he took a step forward into an area of total unknown, of complete and total unknown, and tried it out, and worked on it and started to fill it up. Not to fill it up, to figure it out. This is what happens when I'm reading the chat while I'm talking, is that when someone talks about my jar being half full, I just say full. Yeah! So, yeah. People start to step into the unknown to try to figure things out. And that is really, really, really key for you to do. And very key when we analyze Marine King Prime style today. It's so easy to look at Marine King Prime style and realize that really no one else does that in the public eye. I'm sure there are other people who do it on the ladder, but for Marine King Prime, when we're looking at this style, we don't have this wealth of data to work with. We can't figure out something like, oh yeah, of course, you know, Boxer did this and MVP did that, so we know these things are true. What we have to do is we actually have to stop and analyze and just figure out what's going on from where we are, and shut everything else out. I think it's a really, really important thing to do as a player. Actually, literally shut things out. Shut things out of your mind. Ignore what the popular opinion is, and just trust yourself. Just really trust yourself. Now, the one thing that I want to note as we step into things is that there's a difference between knowing something is good, just based out of a lot of experience, and then overthinking things due to public opinion. For instance, here's the difference. It's great to say something like, Mutalisk Harass is really good against Terran. It's a great thing to say. There's nothing wrong with saying that. But it's not so good to say something like, you must get Mutalisks at some point in order to kill a Terran. That's a huge difference between those two things. We want to use as much of the first one as we possibly can. Oh, Mutalisk Harass is really good. Zergling Baneling is a great way to hold off Marine pushes in the middle. But we don't want to say we have to get mutas, and where are you going to find time to get the Baneling nest? Because you need that, because you just do, damn it. You need it. Those are the things we want to be very careful of. And of course, we're now going to step away from the abstract of just general strategy discussion and talk about aggression and attacking. That is the one, I would say, hallmark of Marine King Prime as a player. We really, really, really like how aggressive he is. And aggression is starting to come up more and more and more and more and more in StarCraft 2, as we're seeing some cool ways that people are playing with it. The problem with aggression that people perceive is that if you do an attack and it completely messes up, a lot of times you just lose, you die instantly, and you go, I'm never attacking again, I'm going to turtle until I have a 200 army, and then, only then will I attack. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to be doing a warm-up game with Marine King Prime. We're going to be doing a warm-up game. This is not specifically the Marine attack-heavy style that we're going to look at in parts 2 and 3, but it's a warm-up, right? We're loosening up. We're loosening up. We're loosening up. Great. Now let's begin with some examples, all right? I'm just going to say this to you. In an abstract sense, if we had a Terran and a Protoss who were doing reasonable things at their home, like building workers, getting upgrades, building supply depots and pylons, let's say a Terran and a Protoss engage 4 battles in a row, and they keep perfectly trading armies. They keep perfectly trading armies. Everything dies, right? Literally everything. It's like a double kill in GoldenEye 64. Literally everything dies. Who's generally going to come out ahead over time if they keep getting in battles and canceling out? Who's going to come out ahead? All right. Is it going to be Terran, and why? Or is it going to be Protoss, and why? I'm literally taking a moment. All right. People are saying things like whoever is expanding and whoever is getting more tech. I want you to just do a simple reason. Let's not assume that they're doing things like huge, crazy tech switches or tons of expanding all the time. Really simply, Protoss is going to be coming out ahead because he can be chrono boosting his workers, and he's getting more workers over time than Terran is. Cool. Really simple. A lot of Protosses now are starting to do just attacking and trading with the Terran, so that way the Terran is literally delayed in his strategy, not put behind, but delayed, and in that delay, the Protoss is kind of slowly starting to get more workers. Really common. Really, really common. Now, what about mules? You don't get more mules over time. You will have 1 per command center at all points in time, assuming you're muling perfectly. That rate doesn't increase, but the rate that you get probes will be able to increase thanks to the chrono boost. Cool. Great, Protoss will slowly start to pull away. Really simple example. Let's hop into this game, and what I'm going to be asking is what the effects of the aggression that we're going to see from Marine King Prime are going to be. We're just going to ask for some of these, with the sound on, of course. And let me actually just go ahead and, I technically shouldn't use the word cheat a little bit, but let's go over here and just sort of look at where Empire Violet is. It looks like he's getting 3 hatcheries up. He's getting his Roach Warren, possibly for some defense against Hellions. He doesn't really know. I mean, he basically just knows that he can't get past this point and sees a gas geyser. And the one thing that I want to note about attacking is we don't want to think about what the attack will do directly. We want to think about what our opponent is left over with at the end of the attack. If we did a whole bunch of attacking with air, when everything is said and done, the Zerg player is left over with a lot of queens. Left over with a ton of queens. So, as the Terran player is moving forward here, just to do this little attack, what is the Zerg player left with at the end of this attack? Just think in your heads what you think you should be left over with. Simple little attack by Marine King Prime. Moved forward, moved back. He's left with a really stunted creep spread, and this is highlighted really nicely by just pulling back a few seconds. He is left with fewer drones. Look at the unit counting station. Wow, Terran is almost virtually ahead. He has 40 workers to the Zerg's 42. For a Zerg that got 3 hatches up and does larva injects, that's pretty amazing that Zerg is having trouble keeping ahead in the worker count. Really nice and clean and simple. A lot of move forward and move back. Okay, well, if our Zerg buddy is not doing too great in terms of the economy front, well, now he's probably going to have to start either building a lot of units or building a whole lot of drones to make up. We're just doing some literally quite simple statements with all of this. Okay, since right now he's probably either building units or building a lot of workers, pretty good time to expand. This is a pretty nice defended expand timing. And look, we walk over here, clearing off some more stuff. Doing this sort of attack, this may win, this may lose, but let's just talk out loud about once this attack is all said and done, as we're moving forward. At this point in time, we probably can't really do much of anything, but we have seen in this exchange that all of a sudden Zerg is pretty much forced to make nothing but units. Again, not so good on the economy. Look at Zerg's economy. You know how Zerg really wants that 70 to 75 worker count? He's not really coming anywhere close to that. But I do want to note right now that this is one of the things that's very impressive about Marine King Prime as a player. What I want to reveal at a moment like this is what the decision that's very easy to make and to mistake. It's very easy to lift up and go home. what does Marine King Prime do? He comes in here. Why is this okay to do? Because it's difficult for Zerg to have Mutalisks up right now, given everything that we've seen. So this sort of attack move is very easy to miss, but instead he moves down here and forces Zerg to make another whole round. Very difficult to miss this. And look, continues this attack. And we're seeing Marine King Prime, as we hear the cops going around outside, of course trying to catch all the thieves and scoundrels and all this rotten stuff. Someone got incredibly arrested outside, or is in the process of being incredibly arrested, or is very on fire. I don't know. I can't tell. I can't tell what that siren is. I can't. But yeah, Marine King Prime, as he's moving through the middle, look at these really aggressive maneuvers that he's making. I mean, he's seen his opponent make a lot of lings at this point in time. So Marine King Prime is pretty comfortable moving around. There's increased confidence that there's no mutas here. And of course, just darting forward with the Marines. Now, if he saw mutas, he could probably just pull back. He could probably just throw down turrets, be in fine shape. He sort of continued scans. Quite good. And as we're making these more attacks, there comes this tipping point where suddenly, if we continue to apply almost non-stop pressure, the Zerg can do almost nothing but make units. And as we come to this unit tab, we see 53 SCVs to 50 drones. When at the 13-minute mark are we ahead of our Zerg player in drones when we have not really killed that many off? Very impressive basics of being aggressive against a Zerg. Now, the one thing I want to note to you is that this is not so much, I want to say, a better move. It's not like Marine King Prime's relentless, insane amounts of attacking is strictly better than a passive Terran style like MVP. Rather, what I'm saying is that it's different, where we're stepping into this unknown, like I was talking about before, and we can just clearly make statements of what is a reasonable next step for us. And of course, in a position like this, we can say things like, well, you know, a lot of players will have more tanks. You know, I see a lot of players generally get a second factory at this point. Don't fall into that trap, right? Well, oh yeah, I have 2 tech labs. Generally, you want to have all reactors because players are generally making just Marines and tanks. Well, you know, if we're being aggressive before tanks, there's nothing wrong with building those Marauders. You have some way to deal with these roaches that we very clearly saw, and now we're seeing these infestors. And we have solid ways to just continue to advance and tank damage. Cool game. Cool game from Marine King Prime. Just a lot of attacking. Lot of attacking. Start to finish, and it wasn't just, I'm going to attack, I'm going to attack, I'm going to attack, I'm going to attack, as we're going to see in these games. It's selective aggression at key periods of time that will slowly leave our opponent with fewer and fewer options. And the fact is that by limiting your opponent in terms of options, you actually don't need to scout nearly as much as you thought you would. Now, because part 1 is almost done, because we like to have 20-minute segments, what I want to do is open up one of the simplest examples of what aggression can do. There's something I want to note, which is that a lot of times people think about attacks in terms of how they can kill the opponent, rather than what you will be left over with. You don't want to think of it in terms of the fact that it can kill an opponent. This is an added bonus. Anytime you see an opponent dying to an attack you do, envision him doing the right thing and defending it, and then describe that situation. That's the benefit of being aggressive. We're going to look at literally the simplest example that we can. We are finally now going to get the chance to step into this aggressive Marine Marauder attack crazy style that Marine King Prime brought out at the MLG Winter Arena a few weeks ago. And specifically, in this game, we're going to see a nice little bunker rush. It's going to win the game clean and pure and simple. But again, listen very carefully to the statement. It's not that it can win. What we want to do is we want to envision what he can do possibly to defend it, and then we want to talk about that, because we're going to see that come up a lot of times here. All right, cool. Lifts and lands the barracks. Great, very common maneuver. DRG pulls some drones. I'm going to start describing what he's doing. He's going to build the spine crawler. One Marine arrives around 4 minutes. Pretty important timing to note. We see that the Zerglings from a regular hatch then pool opening are starting to finish up. And for any of you who think, well, easy, just build the pool first. Players with good Marine control will still be able to storm the front quite nicely and have the same basic effect. So the Marines began shooting away at the spine crawler, and Marine King Prime made a value judgment in this game that, you know what, I can probably bring a lot of SCVs. I want to back up and just briefly note that our Zerg player saved larva in his main and his natural to build Zerglings. There's one Zergling here, and here's 3 eggs, all of which are building Zerglings. And as we step forward a little bit, DRG is building as many Zerglings as he can with his larvae. He didn't do something stupid like lose an Overlord and get supply blocked. He tried to get a spine crawler up, but was forced to cancel it. We're seeing this very nicely placed bunker here. And we see that DRG, even with non-stop ling production and a good angle on the drones and bringing the queen out pretty quickly from the main, was unable to hold that off. So, right now, it's so easy to look at that and to get some sort of nerd boner and go, oh my god, killing Zerg is as easy as going 2 racks and winning. I should be cheesing. Or it's easy to go, oh, that was cheese. That was bullshit. Oh, it's so stupid. Here is what the important idea is. Zerg saved all his larvae to build Zerglings, tried to get a spine crawler down, got the queen as quickly as possible, and was cross-map on Metalopolis, and it still seems kind of hard. It still seems kind of hard to hold off. What that means is that the Zerg can only really improve his control in that situation. Therefore, if Zerg did have good control and did manage to hold this bunker rush off, he would not have a lot of drones. He would not have gas getting Zergling speed started already. Obviously, he wouldn't have roaches or banelings or these other sorts of things en route. It would be hard to even have a second queen. If he did have a second queen, it would be hard to build off all those larvae because of all the Zerglings he's making instead of drones. He seems to be a droneless, gasless Zerg at this point in time. So cool. That is the situation that we're going to see Marine King Prime abuse in parts 2 and 3. He's going to be doing a lot of attacking, but we don't want to think about how it wins right now. We want to think about what situation we're left with afterwards, and we want to think all that good stuff through. Cool. So what I'm going to do is I will be taking a brief break, and when we come back, we're going to see a beautiful, near-flawless execution by Marine King Prime for one of these sexy, sexy, sexy builds. Ha! Ha ha ha. All right, cool. Let's do this. Let's do this. Yes.